Discussion, but there's two of us.
So we're the panel.
Topic is news and media. So this is Juergen. He's from eTurboNews, based in Hawaii. So we're just going to basically talk about what we do, really, how we use news and media, and give some examples of, you know, sort of things that we've done through our companies and our businesses over the years. I founded TCS in Germany in 2007, but I've been working in Africa for 20 years. We have operations in South America, we've done projects in Europe, etc. And it's interesting to be in Turkey at the moment with the topic of what is going on in Turkey at the moment, because through my agency and what we do, we've been dealing with these sort of problems for years. You know, the false sort of, you know, how the media perceives a destination and what the reality is. As you can imagine, in South Africa we've had Ebola, which wasn't in South Africa, but that greatly affected the African tourism industry for 12 months, okay? You know, the reality was Ebola was like 8,000 kilometers from Cape Town, but people cancelled their trips to Cape Town. So, you know, we've done projects during the World Cup in South Africa. You know, the World Cup in South Africa was a very interesting destination for FIFA to choose. And, you know, people were talking about South Africa as a safe destination for football fans to go to. And I actually overheard a conversation once of people saying, I've heard South Africa is so dangerous, the football teams will be staying on cruise ships off the coast. Right, and you know, so those are the sort of things that we've dealt with in our sort of projects that we've done. Last year we did a crisis project, if you like, in Greece. Yeah. Last year's crisis was the financial crisis, and we worked with the National Tourism Board of Greece to create a project because we wanted to produce positive stories about Greece, because there was a lot of negative stories about Greece that really simply weren't true. So we created a project on an island to publicize positive stories about Greece, and that was using video bloggers and social media influencers to show life in Greece during the crisis. That was a really interesting project to manage because we wanted to do it during the crisis, but the project started as the referendum was announced, and basically Greece was bankrupt. We decided people were asking us to cancel. We continued with the project simply because we thought, well, this project was always about crisis, but the crisis has just got worse. So let's continue with it. But the way the media was portraying Greece internationally was, you know, we were asked to cancel by international media partners. We were suggested, you know, maybe this shouldn't go ahead because people were worried about would their travel insurance be valid to travel to Greece, things like that. Would there be riots in the street? And we decided, you know, through conversation with media partners and the National Tourism Board, we decided to go ahead. We sent a nice email to everybody that was coming to support the project to ask if they didn't want to come, we would completely understand. And everybody came to support the project because they wanted to see what it was really like. And that's something that was important because we were showing life on Greece. We weren't getting political, and we weren't selling holiday resorts or anything like that. So, like I said, that's one of our most relevant projects to the topics of what people are talking about at this conference, but Juergen's got a few as well, so Juergen?
Yeah, thank you very much, and for coming here. I should say aloha, but I'm German originally, but I lived in Hawaii for 25 years. And if you don't mind, I'll just sit here, and if anyone wants to interrupt me or ask any questions, feel free. I mean, we're only two of us, so we can keep it very informal. But I'm the publisher and founder of eTurboNews. Some of you, I know they're readers. I see some familiar faces. And we're based in Hawaii, but we're a truly global publication. And the way we got started was back in 1999 when email became more popular, also in the travel and tourism industry. And at that time, we really had no intention of starting a global news publication. News is really not my background, but we represented Indonesia as a tourism office in the United States. And for those of you that remember 1999, 2000, Indonesia went through some incredible challenges, but also involved security perception of the country. And so our task was to convince the U.S. travel industry to look at Indonesia as a travel destination when at the same time the United States government had travel advisories and for some regions even travel warnings against Indonesia. So what we did was, with the help of the Indonesian tourism industry, the private and the government industry, we collected email addresses from suppliers, from travel agents in North America that sold Indonesia and ASEAN, because we also worked with the ASEAN tourism industry at the time, and used this database to send our own messages and our version of what we think about the travel warnings, and we tried to educate US Trade about the geographics, so if there's a situation in Jakarta, people in Bali really don't have to be worried about. So that was our start, and unfortunately also with the government changes and everything else, we faced an issue, what is faced, I guess, in many countries, different from how the government is now in Indonesia, I guess, but we faced an issue of corruption in the administration, so we really couldn't get paid, at least after the second year. We were only able to collect about 20% of the money owed to us, and that was really a losing battle for us. But we had this database, so we thought, no one really thought about online media and email, using email for a publication. But we thought, why not doing a publication? Why not do it global and use our resources? And that's what we've done. So we've really switched into a global publication with the help really of our readers for the most part to contribute to our publication over many years. We have some readers that turned into, we call them ambassadors. We have them in 116 countries that don't get paid for their role, but that has been an enormous help and a pillar of our organization, not only to get news, but also to be represented all over the world. And that has worked very well. And we have some really celebrities under our ambassadors. One now turned into a very good client of ours. He's also a good friend, and he wrote for us for many years, was the Minister of Tourism for the Seychelles, Alain Saint-Ange. So he started really with travel and tourism and writing for eTurboNews many years ago. And so we've been grown into something what is now, I think, very well accepted in the world, what is online media. And in many cases, online media has turned out to be a lot faster, a lot less restricted when it comes to get news out. And it shows really also the increase in readers. Our email newsletter right now has about 230-some thousand readers. These are tourism professionals all over the world, and our average article, thanks to social media and other partners, really receive about 1.3 million openings on an average. What really makes us, in the state of Hawaii, the largest publication, so we can always brag to do that, but we don't print. But we're trying to be everywhere. We're a relatively small company with 11 people on the payroll altogether, but we have a great network, and we really enjoy what we're doing. Within the audience is Dmitry Makarov, who also is now in Honolulu, but who started writing and working from us from the Ukraine. So we have all our people working for us are really also our friends, and so it makes us very different from a Wall Street Journal and everything else. We interact with our readers. I know many of you are on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on all these different social media networks, and we definitely follow Twitter. We're trying to be on the edge of what is happening, and I think we're the only publication right now in travel and tourism that can react to any situation in the world instantly, and that's because we publish 24/7. So right now, for instance, it's nighttime in Hawaii, so we have a team of 2 people right in Sweden that actually watch the news and watch the world for us and upload articles, and we have someone in Thailand doing this, and then Hawaii usually gets up quite early, and we cover most of the day. So that's a little bit about us. When you talked about crisis situations, we've been witnessing a lot of different crisis situations. Actually, we've been, I think the breakthrough for our company was really the tsunami crisis in Southeast Asia, when the United Nations World Tourism Organization appointed us to handle their communication at the time. What was an exciting project, a very sad project, but also an exciting breakthrough for our publication. And we've been involved in similar situations throughout our existence. When it comes to media, and I don't really want to jump the gun here, when it comes to media these days, social media, online media is really nothing different than print media, except we're a lot faster and we're a lot less restricted. So we realize, as a small company specifically, many times we react and we wanted to be the first one on Google News, and so we come out with news before anyone even thinks about coming it, because we do follow Twitters, and we understand sometimes you don't get the whole story within 5 minutes, but we're trying to update this. So our regular hardcore news is in no way reporting how beautiful a hotel is or a destination is, even though we do this. We plan these type of news, and we publish a lot of the feedback we give in form of press releases, and we have writers all over the world that contribute to our publication. But really the news, what's a lot of fun for us, and we're trying to be on the edge, is what is happening now. And that's really just a rundown of what we do at eTurboNews.
The news you distribute, is it sort of curated, or is it your ambassadors? Do they have sort of a free reign to write whatever they want? Is it like man on the ground kind of news?
Well, over the years it really has changed. Ambassadors in news, in providing news, is not our main sources anymore. Really, we rely, like everyone else, on the social media, Twitter. We do reach out to ambassadors or to other sources we have built over the years. And that's one thing I had a discussion with a gentleman from Turkish Airlines yesterday about, is how important I feel, or I think many of the publications that are really very active on getting news out first and immediately, and I think many of the big companies, including Turkish Airlines, may not understand this yet. So when there is a breaking news situation, if we wanted to reach out to Turkish Airlines, we have to send an email. There is no phone numbers to call. There is, yes, they tell us we have a PR agency in New York, but if it's 3 a.m. in New York, obviously we cannot reach that PR agency in New York. When we call the toll-free 24-hour reservation line from Turkish Airlines, no one has any clue what media relations is. So, and there are other airlines, they're excellent. Like when I look at Etihad Airways as one of the competitors, we can reach out day or night. We have cell phone numbers of people, so we don't have to speculate. What is very dangerous in the media business is to rely fully on Twitter and other aspects and speculate when it comes out, especially to breaking news. The same in similar situations is with tourism boards. So we have a lot of tourism boards we work with. We can get hold of someone day or night, 24 hours. Others, we may not get a response in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, I'm a great believer in sort of, empowering the people in the destination to create the news as well, positive stories and things like that. Do you work with bloggers, social media influencers, or is it just your ambassadors?
Well, we work on a commercial basis. Obviously, there is a misconception in the industry, especially with tourism boards, hotels, airlines, that publications like us and others are there just to distribute the news but don't get paid for the service. We're getting about 2,000 to 3,000 press releases every single day. Obviously, we cannot publish 2,000 to 3,000 press releases. Most of the press releases, I would say, not anymore, 98% or 99% of the press releases tell us how nice a new swimming pool is, or what is great in a destination. So they have PR agents writing these releases. PR agents get paid for their service. They send it to us, and they're successful if we publish it. So we have a strict policy not to publish news what is poorly promotional. But in our commercial arm, and that's how we pay our bills, what is very important for us and of course has priority. Yes, we do exactly this. We have done a lot of image building campaigns, visibility campaigns for many destinations. Like if you read us and you see the coverage we have on Vanilla Islands, for instance, the coverage we do on Etihad Airways, the coverage we do on a lot of destinations, it's not because we have nothing else to write. So there's a commercial intent, and sometimes it's not that important what eTurboNews is writing. It's more important how the social media, how Google News, how Yahoo News, and all these other guys index the news. So, and sometimes articles become equally important a year later at a completely different situations than they are now. And we know that, and we're, especially for commercial clients, we look at how we can position articles and coverage, and we do love to work with bloggers to profile destinations, absolutely.
It's important to mention though, but like the media agencies and newspapers and things like that want to sell stories, we all know that. And I recently travelled to Nairobi in Kenya, which had obviously terrorist attacks there as well. And I met with some social media influencers and actually a TV celebrity there. And he told me the story that when Barack Obama visited Kenya, he's half Kenyan, half Hawaiian. He visited Kenya. The CNN reported headline was, Barack Obama visits the hotbed of terror. Right, and how these people are responsible for these stories. And I was like, okay, so what happened locally in Nairobi? Because everybody just got really angry, and we don't like CNN anymore. I said, well, did you try and unite? Did you get some local journalists, some local social media influencers, some local people to tell the real story of what Nairobi is about? And he's like, no, that's the government's job. And that's really interesting because in the modern world of social media and what we are faced with now is the fact that influencers and people on the ground can really change that. Can really change that worldview straight away. Without even the government's help whatsoever. In South Africa, for example, when we did the World Cup in South Africa, I'm obviously British, English football fan, and the stories that were circulating about South Africa, people were going, I'm not going to go to South Africa to watch the World Cup because I'm afraid of getting AIDS. Well, there was all these stories going on. So we started a campaign as an English guy, and I started a campaign regards the fact that I'm an English guy living in Cape Town. If you want any real-time news about South Africa from an Englishman's point of view, contact me. And that was really good because I was able to answer emails. I was getting sent links and things like that, and Twitter wasn't that popular at that time. But people were contacting me and saying, "Is this what it's really like?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. Not what." So that's really important to get the news out by people who are actually there. They're not working for media houses necessarily.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And when it comes to Kenya, I actually also returned from Kenya about 2 months ago, attending the Africa Travel Association conference, and actually the CEO from Turkish Airlines was one of the speakers, so I was impressed. And I have to say, I was amazed about the level of security Kenya had in place. For me to get into the Intercontinental Hotel Estate, I had to go through 3 different layers of security by different security firms. So I think it was really bulletproof, safe to get into this hotel. And these are stories they're often not really told, because Kenya has the perception of being unsafe, with challenges like every major city these days has. Kenya is definitely not alone. Istanbul isn't alone. New York isn't alone. London isn't alone. Brussels isn't alone. Cologne isn't alone. So this is a problem I think we face, and it's important for destinations not to minimize the problem, but also to face the problem but get the right message out. Because really, if you get people scared, and specifically where I come from in the United States, people for the most part are not very global people like here in this part of the world. So if there's a situation like in Istanbul, you would not know how many emails I got from friends and said, why would you travel to Istanbul? And it's just a perception, and influencers in the social media, I think, could do a hell of a good job.
I was talking to some Turkish bloggers last night at the blogger meetup, and they were saying, do you feel unsafe here? I'm like, no, but I'm used to being in dangerous cities. And they said, well, Istanbul isn't dangerous, nobody feels unsafe there. And I said to them, who is getting this message out locally? Oh no, well, we just blog about travel. You know, well, you've got to use your influence. You've got to use your network that you've got to maybe, contradict your niche slightly and help get a positive story out about a destination. Not just say, well, that's not what we do. People, it works in the reverse as well, I've noticed, because, the Syrian refugees, if you watch mainstream media, BBC, CNN and things like that, they're also trying to paint the picture of the struggle these people have had to obviously try and make them more accepted in European countries. But it isn't happening in the reverse, where countries that are suffering like Turkey at the moment, nobody's saying, well, the streets are still packed. People are going about their normal lives and things like that. And of course, people who choose to go to holiday resorts and they just want the sun, sea and sand. There's many destinations around the world like that. So those sort of people aren't going to travel. But I think it's important to target the people that do want to experience different cultures and meet with locals in different cities around the world. Any questions to Juergen? Not me. No? That's it? Well, thanks for coming.
One important part also to understand how media people think. And I wouldn't say I'm a media person because this wasn't really my life choice of doing. I just kind of jumped into this job. I'm a tourism guy, and I've been working in travel and tourism ever since I started working for Hapag-Lloyd Travel in Germany in 1978. But if you look from the media perspective, for instance, our publication, if we don't have a commercial agreement with the destination, the way we make our money is many times traffic to the site and traffic to articles. How do we get traffic? And we're not different than anyone else. Traffic many times can come through sensational headlines. So to give you an extreme story, if there's an airline crash in Congo on a local carrier, this headline probably wouldn't sell as good as saying there's an airline crash, and we don't put it, we would not put a destination in there. So these are tricks not only used, I think, by us, by many media, in order to get openings. We make money the minute someone opens the article. Make more money if someone clicks on the banner. These banners are usually not provided by our clients, many times by Google, and that is kind of a conflict. So if there is a commercial agreement with a destination to promote this destination, we would still publish news. So we never really tell our editors and our writers not to write negative news or critical news because it would make us unbelievable. But the commercial part of it many times can soften messages in a situation, not only soften, probably more clearing up a situation for our readers, and also not have speculations coming up, what is very important.
Yeah, just sums up what we just said about getting the facts out by local ambassadors or influencers or anything something like that. No questions, guys? Thanks and good night.